and welcome to Beads Jar. My name's Billy, and on today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to create this Super Duo Duet bracelet that I've weaved together with the fabulous Miyuki Picasso beads. I've also shown you how to create a little chain tassel as well that you can add at the end of your bracelets. To make the project, I'm working with these absolutely fabulous Super Duo Duet beads, and I've got the size 8 Picasso Miyukis. I'll be adding a fastener and a little drop for the bracelet as well. So I've got a 1-inch head pin, which I'm going to add the Unikite bead on because it was a nice match with the Super Duos. And I've got a Lobster clasp and a selection of 4mm jump rings. Tool-wise, I'll be requiring my round nose, pliers, side cutters, and 2 pairs of flat nose, and my scissors to cut the thread. I've threaded 1.5 meters of the 8-pound fire line, and I'm using a size 12 beading needle. So 1.5 meters that I've pre-threaded here. I've got a 4mm bead here. You can use any 4mm bead. This won't be in your project, and I'm going to start with this. We will remove it at the end. So I'm taking that down my thread, and I'm going to leave myself about a 10cm end with the thread that I'll tuck in at the end of the project, and I'm going to go back in the opposite direction through my bead. So I've just secured the starter bead there, and then I can start threading my project. I'm going to pick up a single size 8 seed bead, and then I'm going to pick up 2 of the Super Duos, another 8 and 2 Super Duos. You'll notice I'm threading them in the same direction, but you can alter them if you wish. Another 8 and 2 Super Duos. So we're just going to keep going with that row until you have the desired length for a bracelet. But do bear in mind we're going to add about 2 centimeters for the bracelet length. We'll put a little extension chain on as well. So as you can see, we've got the size 8, 2 Super Duos, size 8 Super Duos, and on like that. So we're going to get to the length we require for a bracelet here. So I've got the length I want for this bracelet, and as you can see now, we've got all the Super Duos. I'm going to try and get them so they're sat facing down just to make it a bit easier to see. So I want to make sure I have an 8 on the end before we start going back on ourselves. So we're going to work from the right to left. So I've added the seed bead, and then I'm going to go through the first Super Duo, so the bottom hole in that first one, and I'm coming across from right to left. And I'm going to pick up a new size 8. I then want to go through the next 2 Super Duos and then out to the side. So I've just gone through those 2, and the size 8 is going to sit in between, like so. So that'll push in, and we're going to put another 8 through the next 2. Sorry, they've just flipped up on that, but I'll come back down. And then pick up. So you're going all the way back through the project to the start point, doing this method. And you can see we're getting a zigzag shape between where the seed beads are sitting. So every time you go through 1 seed bead, you go through 2 duos. So I've come all the way back across. So we've gone through the second row of the Super Duos. It looks a bit wobbly at this moment, but the tension will correct as we go on to the next line. So I've just come out of my second to last Super Duo, and I'm going to pick up my last 8 on this row and go through the Super Duo. And this, we're going to pick up another Super Duo, and I'm going to go in the same direction, and then we're going to go through the 8 that we just added. So we're going back up through the 8, just make sure that's sat correctly, so it should be sat in line with the top Super Duo. And now we're going to add a new 2 Super Duos. So same direction again. And instead of picking up a new 8, we're going through the one on that row as well. So back through. So I'm working from my left to the right, creating our third section down here. And pick up again. And through the 8. So we're going all the way back along this row until we come out of this Super Duo here, and then we'll start the last bit of the project. So you're just going to keep going, picking up 2 and going through the 8. So we've come across, so it's where I left you off, and we've come all the way along to the near the end, and I've got my last 2 Super Duos going on now, and up through this 8. We're adding 1 more Super Duo. And another 8 before going back down through the project. And you've noticed the tension's all been pulled in now we've got that middle section done. So I've added the 8 there, and we're going to attach our fasteners to this, not just yet though. So we've come back down, and I'm going straight through the next Super Duo as well. So our fastener will attach to these 8s, and then I'm picking up. Now we're not adding any more Super Duos, we're just going to do the frill of the 8s along the bottom section, so from right to left. So pick up, through 2, pick up as we did for the top row. So 2, pick up, 2, so we've come all the way from this edge with the bracelet, and I've come out of the Super Duo. I'm going to pick up my last 8, and I'm going to take the needle through the hole on the top of that Super Duo and through the first 8 on that row as well. So we're coming out through the 8 and pull that in. and we're going to create a half hitch knot to secure the end. In order to do your half hitch knot, so I'm just going to twist the project up, we're going to hook the needle onto the weave that's running between the Super Duo and the 8. So we're going through the weave, pulling with our needle, and you'll see a loop being created as the thread comes down. Take your needle back through that loop, and then you're going to pull as tight as you can on the thread so the knot slips in between the 8 and the Duo. And then to really tidy that up, you're going to go through the next Duos, so the next holes in the 2 Super Duos. So I've exited from them 2, and I'm going to do my second half hitch knot. So the same method again, catching the weave with the needle, pulling the loop in, and we're going to go through the loop with the needle and pull tightly so that the knot disappears in between those. I'm going to go back through the next 8 and the 2 Duos, before I take this end away. So obviously don't need this thread anymore, so not this end but the one with the needle attached, and you're going to use your precision scissors to take that away. Remove the needle from that end, and we're going to we're going to do a half hitch knot with this tail end. So we're going to remove the 4mm starter bead that we had. It should just slide off. I've just released it a little bit, and I'm putting my needle back onto this end. So I've reattached the needle. I'm going to do the same that we just did, so going through the Super Duo and the 8 and creating my half hitch knot. So between the 2 weaves, creating my loop. It's a bit tighter on this side, through with the needle, and then pulling that in, and then the next 2. Catch the weave, through the loop, and pull it tight. Cut that one away. So that's the bracelet weave complete. And now we're going to attach our fastener. Doesn't matter which side you do for this bit. So I've got my 2 pairs of flat nose pliers, and I'm picking up some 4mm jump rings. Just going to open the jump ring, so holding one side and pushing one away to open that up, and I'm hooking that onto the size 8 Miyuki. So I've gone through the Miyuki, and then I'm closing that back together. Make sure there's no gaps. There's a tiny overhang there, so let's close that up properly so it's really nice and neat. And then we'll pick up another jump ring. Jump ring onto the second 8 and close that. And then I'm going to open a third one and connect those 2 together. So third jump ring, I'm going to go across the 2 of those and close it again. So now 3, 4th jump ring, and I'm attaching the lobster clasp to this side. So open that up through the third one we just placed on. Pick up the lobster clasp and we're going through the loop on the lobster clasp, so this end here, onto the jump ring and close that back together. So that's one side of my fastener complete. And I'm going to spin this round. I'm going to do the same again, but I'm also going to add a chain of jump rings, so we've got like a little extension chain. Obviously I've linked them together, but it's just the same, opening your jump ring, closing it back together again. So I'll quickly add those on, and then we can move to our finishing eucalyptus little drop on this project. You can add as many of the 4mm links as you wish for your extension chain. So they just open up and link on. Now we want to make our lovely little drop. So I'm going to pick up the Untitled bead and my head pin, and I'm putting a size 8 on the head pin, followed by the Untitled and another seed bead. Take the round nose pliers and you want to hold above the last seed bead. So I'm just holding that nice and tight, and then I'm going to push the pin at a 90-degree angle away from me. I'm going to reposition the pliers so that they're on top of that fold, and then bring that all the way over the top and then down towards the bead mat. And I've kind of formed a little question mark shape. Take the pliers back into that loop and we're going to wrap that around. So I'm wrapping the excess pin around the neck of the pin, and I'm wanting to do about 2 coils down. So I'm just spiraling that down so the wire's not sat on itself. So we've got a nice neat loop, and I need to take away this excess wire. And that's where the cutters come in. So we're just going to take the smooth edge of the cutters and we're going to get nice and close as we can and remove that excess wire. My last little jump ring to connect the drop to the chain, or just reopen one of those, whichever you want to do. So just open that onto the chain and also onto the head pin. And then we're just going to close that together again. Like so. Just if you do have a tiny lip of wire after you've used your cutters, you can support that and just gently tease it in with a pair of flat nose pliers, tidying that up. And there you have this absolutely beautiful Super Duo Duet Bracelet. Complete with that beautiful little drop as well. I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. Give it a big thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and also subscribe now to our YouTube channel and you can get all of our latest and fabulous designs. Bye!